What's up, guys? Recently, I've been onboarding a lot of new clients who are building their first or second automation inside of their direct response marketing business or in their agency. And what we've been working on specifically is setting good foundations in order to get them to reducing their staff and increasing their profits, sometimes by 20%. The way that we do that is by setting up a database inside of Airtable, because the database is one of the most critical components when you are starting to automate inside of your business. It is one part of the AI operating system, which is the actual AI model, the automation software, the front end you use to engage with the system, and then finally, the data store, your database. So I'm gonna go ahead and walk you through a pretty straightforward use case of setting up Airtable so you can get started managing things in a modern and really effective way to set up automation inside of your business. What we're going to do is basically set up a content marketing campaign, and then we're going to show you how you can track ongoing metrics, use a few automations inside of Airtable, and really get things going so you can start to remove yourself from the business, increase revenue, lower headcount, and ultimately improve your profits. So let's get going. All right, guys, so let's do a complete walkthrough of getting a marketing focused Airtable base set up. What we're going to do on this project is make a way for us to manage our marketing campaigns, and more specifically our ads campaigns. So why am I in Notion then? What we want to look at here is basically what I already have set up. When we're launching paid advertising, as marketers would know, we want to come in, manage our cost per results. We want to set a goal around that, recognize if it's profitable, if the cost per lead works out for us, if we're getting conversions, what our strategy is, the audience, campaigns, ad spend. And we're just going to build all of this for us inside of Airtable, and we're even going to get into some of these formulas over on the side. So how do we do this? Let's start from first principles. What this means is we're going to come over here and we're going to create not a new workspace. Oh, my head's covering it. And we're going to create. We're going to build our own app. We're going to select our workspace, and the workspace is just the folder. Omni AI is going to show up. I recommend that we don't do that. And what we're going to do is name it. Pro tip, if we start with an emoji, we'll get a nice emoji inside of our preview. We're going to call this ad campaigns. And we don't need to worry about the color for right now. Now, with every Airtable base, you're going to have this default row here that you can't really change. Right? This is the main one. You shouldn't change it. We're always going to need a name and a title. So we can change this, and we're going to call this campaign name. This will be the main identifier for what we're doing, and a great way to start is to just delete all the existing fields. The reason I recommend this is you're just going to get tripped up over time if you're trying to find a way where we can reuse this and everything. And so let's go over here, and we're going to start by setting up these formulas and the cost per result goal. So we don't really have an idea for what that kind of field is, but when we look at Airtable, we're going to have a bunch of standard fields. I recommend staying away from the AI generated fields for now. It's going to be expensive and it's going to require a fair amount of configuration. So if we were to set a cost per goal, we want to come over here to currency. And we can even call this cost per lead in this example. We can set what the format is. We want to use dollars. We want to have 2 decimal places. And, we have our idea for thousands. Large number abbreviation. We're not at that level yet with the ad spend. And so create field. So this is set up. So now what we want to do is talk about what the strategy is. Actually, what we'll want to do is now set up the strategy. We want to have our campaign name, and we want to make a note of what the strategy is. This could be a bit longer. So we have our long text, and let's keep going. Strategy, we want to know if it's active, who the audience is, and what our ad spend is. So in order to know if something is active, we're going to use a checkbox. We can call is active. And we can change the style. I like the checks. We want to talk about who our audience is. And now actually, let's go with a single select, because the audience could be more than one. Or excuse me, the audience could be predefined. So what we can do here is we're going to call this audience. Actually, let's make this a multi-select, because it can be male, female, ages 18 to 45, 18 to 30, ages 30 to 44, North America. And of course, these aren't how we would actually launch our Facebook ad campaigns, but you're starting to get the idea. So now after we have our audience, we would want to have our ad spend, which, as you guessed it, is currency. We have all the same presets. And let's see what we can add now. Ad spend, we want the tags. We're focusing on Facebook advertising right now, so we don't need to add the extra Google AdWords, things like that. We want a date period, a campaign link, and an ID. So we can go to date, include time zone, default to the current date. This is fine. And if we don't put anything here, it's just going to default to the type of the field. And now the other thing that we want is basically the link. So if we type in link, we get the option for URL, or we can type in URL, and we're going to call this our campaign link. What we also want to do is come in here and we're going to type in the ID. So it's not going to be an auto number, which would automatically set the position inside of the list, but instead this is just going to be a single line text for our campaign. And we should be about ready to start working with our formulas. But let's track a couple more numbers here for our Facebook ads campaign. Impressions, reach, clicks, leads. And these are all going to be numbers, not currency. This is just so I don't forget. And we can even come in here and select a preset like we did. We don't need to do that. We're going to not set decimal places, but 0, we can't get 1.2 likes on our post. So let's keep going with this real fast. Remember, we want to go and do a number. Okay, and we have a few more. We'll just say booked call, close, revenue, and then we'll get into our formulas. We come in here, we update this. And we made a mistake in the last Notion sheet where this actually wasn't currency. So we want to make sure that this is currency. We're talking about dollars. Now, when we come into Airtable, we want to create formulas in order to keep track of the metrics that are most important to us. And we really want to come in here and create a formula with AI. Airtable has its own way of creating formulas with its own syntax, and we can really research that. But what we want to do is come in here and calculate our cost per lead. And so now it's more important that we get our data organized than it is we understand what the specific formula is. So we'll say calculate our cost per lead as the ad spend divided by the number of leads. So something that's important in the age of AI. Something that's important in the age of AI is not necessarily how technically skilled you are, but how well you can explain your thoughts to these intelligent machines. So let's look at the formula. You see here we basically have our properties, the fields that are vertical columns inside of the single curly braces. We have a slash for divide. We go back to the basic example. It's the star represents multiplication. We have built-in formulas. So this really is building on top of the Google Sheets and Excel style. And so let's create this field. And we'll come back and we'll test these in, actually, let's do it right now. So we're going to say, shoots for dogs, Facebook marketing blast. Cost per lead, we want to say maybe it's $1 per $10 per lead. Strategy, it is active. Audience, male, female. We want to target older people in North America. And for this example, let's say our ad spend was $127. When we come in here and we click on the dates, we actually want to come in, edit fields, and we want to make sure that it is a date range. Okay, stand corrected. Airtable actually only has date fields, so we want to set start date. Come in here, create another one, select the date, and we want to call this end date. Now we want to make sure that they're both showing local time in the same time zone. That's good. And let's drag this over next to the start date so we have our end date. And if that says 11/24 in this example, we'll do 11/29 so we can see the spread. Here we'll say link.com as a placeholder. 2-3. Say we have 1,000 impressions. The reach, maybe the reach was 2,400. 17 clicks, 5 leads. Let's be generous. 15 leads, 5 book calls, 2 closed. $1,000 in revenue. And so there we go. The formula comes in. The cost per lead is 8. So what that means is we need to edit this field, and we need to come to formatting, not to number, but instead have it as currency. We've done this before. Let's save it. There we go. 847. We get additional information. So now let's just keep going. Cost per lead. We want to look at our conversion rate. And let's create it with AI. Okay. Conversion rate.
Actually, let's press this a little bit. We want our conversion rate. The percentage of closed. And so let's see if we just put this in plain language, if it will understand what we're looking for. We want the closed divided by the booked rate times 100. Great. Formatting. And this is not going to be a number, but instead it's going to be a percent. Create fields. Not 4,000%. What we need to know is that when we look at the formula, a lot of this is already formatted. So if we get rid of the 4,000, the 100, close percent, 40%, right? That's about right. So we don't need to be so granular with the mathematics. When we look at this, you'll see that we already have rounding available. We already have these built-in functions that'll do a lot of the hard work for us. So let's come in and add one more. We'll say cost per close is always a good metric. And let's see if we can actually get this to connect to the ad spend. Fantastic. Come to formatting. Set the currency. Create field. So there you have it. This is how you set up the basics inside of Airtable. Something we can do now is we can come over and create a new view. Something that we want to really pay attention to is maybe we want to do a list format. This will just make things easier to read. Okay, we can just view them one at a time. And when we're inside of Airtable, when we're on our grid view, when we click on one of these items, if we come all the way over, when we look at one of our list items, we'll be able to come, oh, not here, and we'll be able to open it up to view more detailed information. So what this does is it gives us a much more concise view, and we can show our hidden fields here, and we have it all in a list view. Now, Airtable does allow you to come in and add comments to records, which I think is a really nice feature. You can just type it in, we're ready to go. And we can also come in here, add new tables, and we can start the project all over again. You can see we can start from scratch. We can add Omni. What we can actually do over here is we can say, show me, create a new table for me to view my leads. And what it will do is it's going to actually create a table for us. It's going to populate it. And we will be able to reference information across the two tables. I'll show you in a second. Okay, let's take a look. Date captured, status. This is great. We can come in here actually, and let's look at the AI field is cool, but let's look at the campaign link. It's a URL. So what we can actually do is we can start to link these together. We don't want to have another campaign link field, because what if the link for this campaign changes? We don't want to have that there. Okay, ad spend per lead. Again, this is a duplicate field. So let's delete this and let's build a relationship. And so we link it to another record in another table, right? Table 1. And this also gives us the option for a roll-up, allow linking to multiple records. We don't want to allow that. And so now we're adding lookup fields. In Notion, they're called roll-ups. So what we want to do is basically have the campaign link selected. And for example, let's say is active. Okay, so we can come over here, campaign link, not campaign link, but actually select the campaign. There's only one campaign, and now you see that these are automatically updated. If we go back to table 1, an additional column should have been added that shows our leads. There we go. Our unnamed record is right there. So I hope this helped. This was just the most basic walkthrough of getting familiar with Airtable. If you're interested in learning more, let me know in the comments. We can start to look at what the different automation options are. We can basically run code behind the scenes of our Airtable database and really get some incredible stuff working with our automations like make.com and N8N. Interfaces, we can visualize the data in unique ways, and what one of my favorite features is building forms, so we don't have to go in and manually update all this information. We can actually send this form out to employees, to leads, whoever we want to work with. We can get feedback on specific initiatives, and if any of this is valuable to you, like it, subscribe it. And I do automation consulting, AI consulting for businesses, and reach out to me directly if that's something you're interested in. Thanks.